All right, gonna start working on this painting. Have my palette off to the side. You can't really see the colors because I want to show the paint on the canvas first. But before I start painting, I gotta rough up the surface so that I don't have all these little snots in the way. All right, now that it's all roughed up, I'm gonna take a drink and start working. Gonna turn on some music for myself. All right, got my reference ready. Let's get this party started. All right, gonna start working in the shadow shapes. Actually, I'm gonna move the painting down just a little bit. There we go. All right, I have form shadows over here and cast shadows over here. Cast shadows are gonna be a harder edge. Form shadows are gonna be a slightly softer edge. And depending upon the planes, there's gonna be warmth or coolness. So more cool planes here, perpendicular to the light source, and then warmer here, where I'm gonna get bounce light into it. So as I'm working on it, I need to figure out what planes are doing what, at what angles, to be able to best describe what's going on in that shadow. And this is where I want people to look first and most. That's where I'm going to have the greatest contrast. So this color looks to be pretty close to what I want, so I'm going to mix something similar to it. Raw umber with some king's blue. Makes it pretty darn gray. I'm going to go just a little bit lighter. And a little bit warmer. Transparent oxide yellow. I want to keep these values pretty close together. I just want a warmer value and a cooler value. And this is getting a little bit darker, so add a little bit of yellow. Maybe that was too much yellow. And I'm going to add a little bit of red. So that way I have a little bit more variation. Again, the value is just a little bit too dark, but I'll add some white. Oh, that was too much white. Holy shiitake mushrooms. Got to start over. I'm going to go with a little bit of transparent oxide red. A little bit of transparent oxide yellow. There we go. That value looks so much better. Okay. There's a break in the rock here to expose a different face. So I want to describe the difference between those two faces. This face is cooler, and then this face is warmer, because there's a difference in plane changes. So I will start with the cooler ones. Let's try this out. A little bit of medium. Is that too light? Might be just a little bit too light. Some ultramarine blue. I think it could go even darker. I'm doing kind of a dry brush over it. Bring that over just a little bit more. All right. There's another little bit of a shadow that's being cast from a rock over here too. I'm going to describe that. Then it goes from a cooler to a warmer. Scoop it up a little bit. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Just a little bit of a green change. A little bit more of a green change. A little bit more red. Some red in these vertical planes. And then it goes under here a little bit more red. There's another little bit of a red lip that sits underneath here to describe form. It's coming along. It's like a puzzle. Just trying to put all the pieces together. And then it gets a little bit lighter right there. Let's go with Naples yellow. Try that out. And then I need to soften this edge just a little bit more. Okay, that's coming along. There's a slightly lighter value that's sitting here with reflected light. I don't want to make the reflected light too light because it'll look funky. But just enough to make it look like it's turning form. A little bit lighter. I don't want to over-render this stuff, but I'm just going to go and take some lighter values right here and there we go. A little bit over here too, that reflected light that's bouncing in. Gosh, I don't even know if you'd be able to see the changes or differences, but I mean, I'm seeing them, but who knows if you are. Okay, and here on this edge, this can't be a straight line because this is deeper than this, so it's further back. So I need to change this edge. And this edge is also known as the penumbra. So I'll shift it over just a little bit more. The penumbra is where a large color shift occurs on a cast shadow. So you might be wondering, well, am I going to make a color shift there? And the answer is yes, just in a little bit. Maybe in a little bit. I can go over it and show you. It'll make it look like a better painting anyways. There we go. Now that I have the shadow shapes mostly placed in there, I can work out some details, but I don't want to work out the details yet. I want to refine the edges. So here on the penumbra, clean my brush. Here on the penumbra, I need to figure out what color I want to shift it to. So this is more of a yellow. So the penumbra I want to make just slightly more yellow. And that yellow looks like it's shifting kind of to the green. So I'm going to add a little bit of red. Need to make it just a little bit more chromatic. Some yellow, some red. The reason why I want to make it chromatic a little bit more is because I want it to mix with the current color that I have in there. So I have a good amount of paint on here. I just need to add it. I don't know if you can see that change in color, but it changes just a little bit. And then this is more of a blue, so I'm going to shift the penumbra to more of a violet. So I actually have some violet on my palette that I just put in there. Now I got to get it to the right value. A little bit of king blue. More of a violet. More violet. Let's try that out. All right, I don't know if that visually is making sense, but just popped in the edge of the penumbra there. And now I'm going to go back in and rework this. That has to be lighter in value because there's a lot of reflected light in there. And it needs to be more chromatic. So I'm going to go take my penumbra color. I can't see very well because of a reflection. More paint, more paint. Come on. Well, that's way too much in terms of chroma. All right, I'll take that same color. The key is to keep the values really close together and compress so that this makes sense. All right, now I have the form. So the form is this part. It's where this is turning and it starts to fall into shadow. I need to get that edge softer than this cast shadow so that it really turns form. And I can do that by putting in a darker value right here and then getting a lighter value as it goes there, and it turns it into the light shape. So the color that I see there, I'm going to go with a nice red. Okay, clean the brush. All right, soften this edge. It's not soft yet. I'm just putting in a core. All right, now I'm going to work on softening up that edge as it turns form. And I'm going to get a smaller brush. It's a bristle. Turn more of the orange. There we go. Soften that out. I'm looking at the bigger shapes, trying to figure out what parts turn softly and subtly and which parts are flatter, because I need to vary how thick or thin that half tone is. And right now I'm basically doing a glaze. And I'm starting to futz a little bit too much, which is fine if I'm enjoying it. Nice. I think I'm wiping my paintbrush on a paper towel, and it's not. It's my leg. You know, that's fine. Breaking up some little secondary shapes. There we go. I have a couple of other shadows that I want to put in there. Now, most of the shadows I don't want to have blue. If I have them blue, then that means more light is getting into that area. So some of these darker areas, I want to just take a transparent oxide yellow and some medium, and that'll get me slightly thinner piece, and I can come in here and just start to chisel out some of these bigger shadow shapes. It might not make sense right now, but makes sense for me because I'm planning it out. I saw this technique or paint application in Thayer. Thayer had some really great texture that he'd built up, and I was like, wow, how does he get those shadows to work so well? And after really looking at it and reviewing it, he literally would take and do a glaze over the texture that he had painted in there. And it was a semi-transparent color, so it was something like a transparent oxide yellow or transparent oxide red. I don't even know if he had those colors when he was alive, but either way, it was beautiful. So I'm trying to apply the same technique or look. So for this side, that seems to be most of the darker shapes. This is all pretty well lit in the front of the composition. All right. I think that's enough for all the little shadow details. I don't know if I want to put more in. Now it's just a matter of painting in some bigger, more gray shapes. So I have a couple of choices. I can start with the lightest values and start to go darker, or I can build up from my values that I currently have and turn the form more. I think I want to start on this section and turn the form, but we will see what ends up happening. I'm liking some things that are going on here. And this is just a flat face, but it gets a little bit more gray here. I have some titanium white buff is what it's called. It's just basically titanium white that is unbleached. And I think I will use that with a little bit of white to get the grayish tones that are in here. It gets a little bit more pinky up top here. And then there's some orange and greenish bands that are down here before it gets to the water. So water is another thing that I could establish. So maybe I'll do the water a little bit later. I'll indicate a couple of little spots. Just so I know where my contour is for some of these shapes. Well, I guess my camera decided to die. So I guess that's it for the live stream right now. Maybe I'll get it back up here. Hold on. Yay, I got it fixed. Sorry, that took a little bit longer than I thought, but good to go. All right, where was I? Oh, this part needed to come forward a little bit more, meaning dropping it down. Just a little bit of a separation. Same thing with on this side. I'll probably end up changing this, but all right, there's the separation between the two. Now, the water is slightly darker in value than the rocks, so I need to just make sure that I remember that. This part, the shadow part, is not darker than the lights, but I'm going to go in there and place the shadow shape in there, just generally. So I want to take, since I already have this color established, a little bit darker. There we go. And then that is going to be slightly darker. So get some of that umber. There we go. There's also some little areas in here that are slightly darker. All right, need to darken up some of the value right underneath there. Less light that's coming in. Here, I thought I was done with this part. Okay, I'm kind of digging that actually. All right. There are a couple of other little dark areas over here. That's making this shape a lot more interesting to look at. Nice. Well, I just saw that I'm getting a health error on this video. I'm sure that means something important. Maybe the streaming quality is not very good, but we'll see. All right. Kill some of these things. Maybe I should wait until the end to do all these fun little shapes, but I don't want to. I'm having fun with this. All right. Gonna add some lighter values that are kind of this pink color. Add some buff white. A little more titanium white, or titanium buff, whatever it's called. Let's try this out. Too dark. Let's do some lighter values up here. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Gonna go just a little bit more red. Maybe that was too red. Gonna get some medium. And these are just little striations that are sitting on top of the rock. All right, back over here. I'm getting too distracted with this stuff over here. So I'm going to go back over here and refine this one. I want to shift from this side over to here. And this value is just a little bit too light for my liking. And I'll add some King's Blue. Some buff white. Let's see if that value is right. No, that makes it lighter. And actually, right up here, that looks to be actually spot on in terms of the value right there. Ooh, that's a nice color. Man, the question is, can I break free of this value? Darker. There we go. That looks better. It's a little bit darker up here. This top part is more of an orange, so I want to wait to hit that. I want to get some of this more gray shiftiness down here. As you can see, I'm doing some dry brushing over it because I'm trying to let parts of the underpainting come through. It just describes a little bit more texture and shape change. All right, back down here. So the blue is going to be more perpendicular to the light source, and I think that that's pretty close to the right value. It might be a little bit too dark, but I'm going to go more with this titanium buff. Add it to the color. Let's try that. That's turning it nicely. Needs to go a little bit lighter. Need to get some more white. Some Naples yellow. Yeah, now it's starting to be just a little bit too bluish. But the value's getting close. And then it gets a little bit more green down here, so let's try that out. Okay, that little bit of green, but I need to pump up the value a little bit more there. There we go, just a little bit more light. All right, it needs to go just a little bit more transparent oxide yellow. part of that is just a little bit too green. It needs to be more pink, so maybe not that pink. That's too much. Clean the brush off a little bit. I gotta. Oh, that's too much again. Shiitake mushrooms. There we go. All I'm doing is trying to decrease the value of that. I want to make this pop a little bit more and have it feel like there's a band of a lighter value sitting here. So it's not as light as that, as this area. I'm liking that. And then here is just slightly more tan. All right, one thing at a time. I'm going to go back to this and define those lighter shapes. All right, I'm thinking that reads pretty good. At least good enough. Yeah, buddy. All right. So this reads really, really gray because it's surrounded by all this orange. So I need to neutralize the orange a little bit more. But before I do that, I'm going to kind of run with this grayish tone and put it in the other areas that I want more of a gray tone. All right. Keep going. Thank you for the compliment. All right, gonna go back over here, refine some of these things. There's a more yellow band. Before I get to that yellow band, I don't want to refine too much over here because I don't want to distract from the focus, but I do want to place in a couple of interesting parts. So and it's not important to get all of the striations that are in the rocks and all the various colors and values. I don't want to take it away from what's going on with the shapes. So I'm just slowly creeping up on it. All right, now I need to make a little bit more of a violet turn. Slightly darker value. That might be too violet. I'll go with it. All right, that looks like it's turning a little bit better. Okay, the paint right now is so thin, I'm not digging it very much. So I'm gonna thicken it up and really slap on some paint. Close to the right color, a little bit of yellow. Let's try this out. That looks pretty good. Shiitake mushrooms. A little bit too far there. Let's clean it up. If you make a mistake, it's really good because then you can just make the corrections from the mistake. A little bit too much raw umber. Maybe. Oh no, that's much better. Happy mistakes. I don't know if that's the right thing. I'm just gonna keep going though. All right, and then I need to go slightly lighter. Scoop it up. Again, a little bit lighter. All right, parts of it are looking just a little bit too stripy for my liking. So I'm gonna get rid of some of these stripes. All right, I need to transition this a little bit better because it's just a bit too orange of a shift. All right, I think that's coming along now. Yes, that form looks much better. Okay, now I have slightly darker values. Maybe not so red. Over on this side, a flat plane. I can't quite see it, but all right, and then there's a mountainous area that's right back here, but I don't want it to compete with this shape. So I'm going to make those a little bit lighter in value and compress them. And make them a little bit more blue. Maybe not that blue. All right, let's try this. Get some medium in there to... That looks pretty close. Okay, so that's a little bit lighter. And then I just need the shadow shapes to go. No. I'm going to leave those as the shadow shapes. Just flatten it out. But then I'm going to add some of the orangey color, just a lighter value. Let's see if this will work. Just need something to kind of lead the eye into the composition a little bit more. But keep it simple enough that it stays back. That might just work. Just dependent upon what I do with the sky. Now, the top of this, I want to change that because the sky, indirect light, is going on top of it, and I want to turn that form just a little bit more, maybe not have it so abrupt. So cleaning my brush off, going to go with this orange, add some king's blue. Kind of goes this beautiful neutral gray. A little bit more. I need to push that. It's kind of hard to paint under a camera because I'm trying to make it so that you guys can see, and also I can actually work on it, make sense of all this, but it's hard to see everything, so. All right, that's better. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this form over here. Oh, that was the wrong value. Shiitake mushrooms. All right. Going to go over here to the darker gray. Again, wrong value. Dang it. All right. It's okay, because I can make it a darker value. Soften that transition a little bit more. That does good. All right. Now this needs to be more compressed in terms of colors so that this can pop out a little bit more. Before I do that, though, that was bugging me. It was probably bugging you too. I can tell from a distance. Let's break up these shapes a little bit more. It looked a bit too repetitive. There we go. Now I'm going to shift over. Let's see, I'm coming around this way. I'm going to cover that with blue. Yeah, I'm going to work on this. Okay, now I have this part that I need to bring down. It's like a vertical plane that comes here, and then there's this bulbousy shape that is sitting down in here. So before, I figure I'm already here, so I'm gonna do that bulbousy shape. I don't even know if you can see that, but. And then it gets slightly lighter as it drops down into this other part, but I'm going to get this other grayish shape that sits here. Here's a lighter value. A little bit more. That might be a little bit too much. Okay. Going to refine this just a little bit more on the top part. And then there's that vertical plane. And the vertical plane it's close to the same color as here. It's just a little bit less chromatic. So I want to get that value right. I don't need to get that chroma. So actually, I'm going to use the same brush. Go big or go home, right? So cleaning the brush off. Less chromatic because it's raw umber. That didn't work out as well as I thought it would. All right, let's try it again. But then it gets a little bit lighter right underneath these little holes. So I don't want to render things out too much, but I'm going to anyways. All right, and then I'm going to put in that darker value. And maybe this is too dark. Maybe I need to lighten it more. To be able to create more atmosphere. So I think I'm going to do that. Because I'm rendering stuff and I'm starting to waste my time rendering in all of this information when it's like the incorrect value. All right, reset. Big brush. I'm going to build up this little form first, and then that will help me gauge building up that form. A little bit more king blue. A little bit more. All right. Now I need to shift gears from this, which is closer to the value and color that I want, to this, which I need to really simplify, because right now it just is too rendered. It's distracting from this. It needs to be more simple. So maybe I need to not use the reference and describe what's going on here. Maybe I just need to simplify it. So I'm going to shoot for simplification. I'm going to put this shadow value off to the side here. Just trying to see if that's the right value, and it looks to be close to the right value. I'm just going to simplify it into a cliff. I don't want it to go as dark as this because it's further back into space. So transparent oxide red. Some King's blue. Yeah, on the screen, you have a better view than I do. But that looks like it sits back enough. This part is getting confusing, so I need to, this value should not be the same as that value. So I'm going to simplify it. A little bit more King's Blue. Keep those values really close together. Well, I'm okay with it. I'm not loving it, but maybe I just need to compensate by making everything else cool. Well, and I'm getting an error on the video saying that the quality is not very good. So I don't know what's going on. Something's going on with the internet. I'm not sure what it is. All right, now this whole section here, I'm going to start from the darker values and I'm going to shift into the lighter values to make that form turn. And it's a little bit more of a grayish tone in here, more of this king blue type color. Let's give this a go. That looks pretty darn close. All right, this part doesn't go over that far, but that's okay. And these are really kind of compressed and close together. It's almost like a flat face. I'm going to go with more of a raw umber. There's artist Thomas Moran. He died a couple hundred years ago, but phenomenal artist. And I learned that even though your reference might look one way, make it the way you want it to look, because nature is beautiful if you, yeah, I mean, you don't have to enhance nature to make it look beautiful, but I think my painting looks more beautiful if I enhance nature. So I like to do what Thomas Moran did, and that's try to make things look better than they actually were. I don't know if I'm doing a good job on that, but that's all right. I'm just making sure I'm not making things too repetitive. So if I divide this down, is that going to be, no, that's definitely not the same. Thanks, Maggie. All right, keep going. Hopefully it'll look really good by the time I'm done with it, like the whole thing. But as of right now, it's looking okay. All right, I think I'm getting a little bit too contrasty and dark up there because I want the eye to draw in here. So I need to simplify these values and make them a little bit more contrasty as they come in. I can't tell if that's, oh, that looks pretty good. Is anybody watching the Olympics? I don't know if they're going on right now, but I like watching the recaps on YouTube. Yeah, some parts are a little bit too pink. Well, I'm not sure what's going on, but for some reason my internet connection is not going very well, and I just lost a bunch of people. But it says nobody's viewing it, and but it's still recording and streaming. I'm not sure what's going on.